Kenny all the way Southern T, back with another EP. Y'all do your boy a favor, y'all hit that thumbs up for your boy when you roll on in. Whether you're here for a good time or a long time, I would greatly appreciate if y'all could hit that thumbs up for your boy. Today, this morning, we go do the fight breakdown between Vasil Lomachenko and Devin Haney a little later. But I want to do my weekend recap right before we get into that. I ain't gonna be in here too long, right? We go get in here on this one. We go get in. We go get straight out. We go keep this thing short and sweet, and then we go have us, a boxing conversation because it's Devin Haney and Vasil Lomachenko week, right? What's good, David Ramirez? Appreciate you sliding through. No, you came through yesterday. I was supposed to do this yesterday, but I didn't. But we here today. Shout out my guy Monster Musa. What's good, Monster Musa? Appreciate you sliding through. Shout out my girl Jazz. Jazz, what's good? Good morning, beautiful to you too. My boy DS, who always in the place to be. What's good, DS? Appreciate you sliding through. All right, so I ain't gonna keep y'all in this thing too long. We gonna get right to it. We didn't have a whole lot of big fights this weekend, right? But we did have a championship fight this weekend, right? Rolly Romero took on Barrioso, right? Emmanuel, what's his name? Emmanuel. I'm not really sure. I can't remember his first name, right? But he took on this guy named Barroso, right? And if we didn't know Barroso before this weekend, we dang sure know Barroso after this weekend, right? Now, lack of knowledge with this, Barroso guy that Rolly taking on. A lot of people took Rolly Ramirez. You had some people, right, who were kind of familiar with Barroso that was like, hey, man, you might want to be on the lookout for this guy. This guy been the mandatory for a few years now. He killed Ishmael. There you go, Davis. My guy, Ishmael. There you go. My guy, Davis. Yep. Ishmael Barroso. Like this guy could be, he could be a problem. He could sneak up on Rolly, right? But we don't know too much about this guy, so pretty much everybody expecting Roller just to go in here, knock this guy out. Well, Saturday, that's why you actually, got to get inside the ring. That's why you actually fight the fights. That's why you actually, fight the fights. You still have to get in there and fight the fights. Well, Saturday, Roller got in there and he fought the fight, right? And I tell you this, man, Rolly did not look good at all. Rolly looked real timid, right? He didn't look confident in himself, and also Ishmael Barroso was more than a game opponent, right? We were making a lot of jokes beforehand about that fight because we didn't really know Ishmael, right? About him being old, right? About them finding him from the dead, about him looking like a mummy, right? Things like that. Just for Ishmael Barroso to go out there and actually, be beating Rolly Romero up until this time of the stoppage, right? And that's a whole nother situation in itself, right? The actual stoppage, right? So let's talk about it. Rolly Romero, he won this weekend, right? He got the stoppage over Barroso, but you got to question whether it was a stoppage, right? I asked the question, was the fix in, and did referee Tony Weeks give Rolly? Well, I asked that because, right, as I had just alluded to, if you was watching the fight, you saw that Rolly was down on the cards. Rolly had been knocked down in this fight. He just looked real out of whack. Looked like he was, outmatched. Like he was outmatched, versus this Barroso guy, right? So, Rolly got knocked down in that fight. If I'm not mistaken, I think Rolly, I don't think Rolly landed knocked down, but Rolly landed some good shots. You know what I mean, himself. But for the most part, the Barroso guy was pretty much getting off on Rolly. He was first. He looked a lot quicker than Rolly, right? Rolly looked timid, right? Rolly looked like he looked in the first 6 rounds of the Javante Tank, Davis fight. He was actually attempting to box right, but I think he was being overly patient with this guy, and it was causing the guy to get off on him. Rolly was looking terrible. You know what I mean? He was really looking terrible, right? There were times where Rolly would have moments, but for the most part, this guy was putting it on Rolly. On the back end of the fight, I think it was like the 7th, 8th round, right? Barroso did start to slow down because we were making jokes about him being 40 years old, but all jokes aside, right? The guy still is 40 years old, so he was starting to slow down just a little bit, and it was either the 8th round or the 9th round, right? Barroso, he got a little tired and he put himself in the corner. So Rolly, he took that time to unload a barrage of punches, right, on Barroso, or what some may have thought had been on Barroso, right? But the replay later showed that None of those punches actually even landed on Barroso. Barroso was weaving and he was dodging the punches, right? Before the referee Tony Weeks called the fight, and that's what got everybody, up and on. That's what got everybody, asking these questions because you remember Tony Weeks is the same guy who refereed that famous Badu Jack fight. Y'all do your boy a favor, y'all hit that thumbs up for your boy when you roll on there. Tony Weeks is the same referee who refereed that famous Badu Jack fight, right? And we know we can see a picture of Tony standing there with the red shirt with blood all over it, Badu Jack's blood. And that's a fight that Tony Weeks let, continue. It was a fight this weekend where it seemed like the favorite, right? Where it seemed like the favorite was about to lose. He was getting beat up, right? Tony Weeks had called the knockdown, early in that fight that people questioned where Rolly had knocked down Barroso, right? But it looked like Rolly stuck his leg out and he tripped Barroso over his feet, right? And Rolly was ended up giving that knockdown. There were people that was questioning whether that was a knockdown or not. They felt like Tony Weeks, gave Rolly Romero a knockdown in that situation where he didn't deserve it, right? And then you had about in the ninth round where, the stoppage took place well, I'm guessing right. I don't think the fix was in on this fight right. I think it was a bad stoppage. It was one of the worst stoppages I'd ever seen in my life, right? But I don't feel like that the fix was in because I could see how Tony Weeks may have thought right that Rolly Romero was landing and hurting on Barroso if he had a bad angle, right? Because once he stopped the fight, I thought it was a bad stoppage live because right the guy was up so far on the cards, and I think it was kind of bullcrap, to stop a fight like that, right? But given the angle of it, I could see how Tony Weeks maybe was confused. But when you look at the replay, you could clearly see that none of those punches landed. And I think in hindsight, that's what everybody is upset about, right? Do I think the fix was in? No, I don't. Do I think, Tony Weeks may have gifted Rolly Romero with the win that he may not have gotten otherwise if it wasn't for the bad call? I do. I do. I've seen Tony Weeks let, fights that are a lot worse than that go on. Not really sure why he felt the need, to jump in on Barroso. Maybe because Barroso wasn't throwing many punches back, right? But if a guy is up that far, that deep in the fight, I think it's tough, man, to call that fight on him and take away his win like that, especially when he had won roughly right pretty much every round. Maybe there's a round here or there that he didn't win, but roughly in that fight, he had won every round. You know what I mean? So I do think Tony Weeks may have gifted Rolly because he saw something. He saw something different. I believe that he felt Barrios was in trouble, right? So he stopped the fight. I don't think he had a predetermined decision to have Rolly Romero win that fight. I do think it was a bad call, but Tony Weeks is human. It happens. I think it's a lot worse too because it's Rolly Romero. A lot of us didn't feel it was good, Andre. A lot of us didn't feel like he deserved to be, fighting for a title anyway. A lot of us view Rolly as a joke, and then when you have a guy who's viewed as a joke coming there, and then he get beat up, right, and then he get what seems to be a joke of a decision stoppage, right, it's going to cause some uproar. You know what I mean? But I don't feel like Tony Weeks was, paid off or he was influenced to let Rolly win. I feel like Tony Weeks may have saw, something different in the ring when it was live, and then he jumped in, and the replay showed that, Rolly really wasn't landing them shots. I think the big winner in this is Rolly Romero because that guy was putting hands on Rolly, and Rolly was able to get out of there, with the win and the title, right? I personally wouldn't mind seeing them fight again. You know what I mean, especially given how it ended, right? But Rolly Romero, just to wrap this thing up, Rolly Romero did become the 140-pound champion, over the weekend. If you watch that fight, you pretty much saw Rolly get beat up. You know what I mean? That whole fight and get a gift stoppage, right? But I guess that's perfect. Like that's exact. Like I'm not surprised because it's Rolly Romero. Rolly Romero's name is filled with drama and question marks, and just like his whole career, drama and question marks his only real championship title is filled with drama in question marks. But I ain't gonna be up in this thing too long because we getting ready to do this Devin Haney versus Vasily Lomachenko fight breakdown and prediction. And that's what we gonna be spending our time on this morning. So I appreciate y'all sliding through. Skin Hardaway, Sudden T. This ain't the past, this ain't the future, but this present. That's how you rocking. And I'm out. Look, y'all meet me on the other side for the Devin Haney Vasily Lomachenko prediction.